bitches hear this, they're gonna be like, wow. Smoking gas, living fast, wearing velvet. Can you take a 4 or 5 to the pelvis? Plenty money going around, I'm not selfish. And the ladies love me, Elvis.
Welcome to another episode of GLG Reacts. Now this video is going to be a lot longer than my other videos. We might even go into the 12-minute range. I do ask you to kick your feet up, get some popcorn. It's going to be a interesting GLG Reacts video, and I mean I can relate to this entire video. The video is titled "The Final Fantasy XIV Community Has a Big Problem" by Lynx, Kameli. I'm sorry if I butchered your name there. I got permission from this content creator to do a reaction video. He basically said, you don't have to ask me permission. Go ahead and do it. Now, this forum post here in the Final Fantasy XIV forum, this actually led me to his video. This person posted this. I seen it on my phone in the Google News section for some reason. Clicked on it and it went right to YouTube to this video. So we're going to head right to the video and we're going to start it.
Final Fantasy XIV has a great community, until you disagree with them. It's no secret that criticizing any aspect of Final Fantasy XIV will get you absolutely blasted by the FF14 community. There's a reason why you never hear anything bad about FFXIV, and that's because as soon as you critique any small part of the game, the mob mentality of the community kicks in at full force and shuts you down, making it impossible to feel like you're allowed to give your thoughts on an aspect of the game that you don't like. I have personally felt this mob mentality numerous times over my 4 years playing the game, and most recently it was with a video I made where I made a quick comment that I skipped the story content in FF14 and don't care about the main scenario quests or the cutscenes. People were quick to jump at me, telling me that I was missing out and wasting my money, and that if I was going to skip the story, then I'm just a stereotypical WoW player, and I should go play that game instead. People were berating me and insulting me for enjoying the game in a different way than them. Simply saying you don't like or don't care about the story is enough to get a hate mob thrown at you. Now don't get me wrong, there was also a ton of people in support of me, and lots that just didn't really care if I liked the story or not. But by simply having an opinion not shared by the majority of players, the community came at me with their fangs out. Recently, Asmongold, an extremely popular WoW streamer, made a comment stating his fears about playing Final Fantasy XIV, claiming that the community is so emotionally involved with the game that any criticism will get you hate.
It's like the only reason I worry about like playing Final Fantasy XIV, this is like one thing, right, is that I know that the community is like so like they're so emotionally like attached to it that like I feel like if you make a criticism towards the game, they'll freak out at you. It's like, for example, with Final Fantasy players, you say something bad about their game, they'll get mad at you. If you say something bad about WoW to a WoW player, they'll agree with you. And so it's just like a completely different dynamic.
Now this is a sentiment that's been circulating in the community quite a bit.
As a fellow content creator who has made videos talking about some negativity, can't speak today. It's hot as hell in my room and I just woke up. Okay. Being a content creator who's talked about some negative things about Final Fantasy XIV, I felt the brunt of the fanatical passive-aggressive fandom. They come out at me, fangs out, trying to destroy me, in which you can't destroy something that you cannot create. I'm just playing here. One thing I can say is that yes, they do not like when you say anything negative about their beloved Final Fantasy game. Now, this whole World of Warcraft feud between World of Warcraft players and Final Fantasy players, I don't know too much about the whole lineage of it. It's almost like a 300-year war between the two. You know what I mean? I come from a completely different MMO. Where 99.99% of the community was trash. They need to just throw the whole community and game away and just start over from scratch. That's how bad the community is, or was, from that MMO that I played or I come from. But seeing how players treat each other in game over here on Final Fantasy XIV has made me realize these players are fucking insane, bro. Like, I can't criticize your beloved game because you love it so much you defend it with your life. It makes absolutely no sense to me.
Recently, and I wanted to give my thoughts on this topic as I'm someone that has a lot of controversial opinions about the game. But first, let me lead in with this. I love FF14. This is my favorite game. I have 10,000 hours played, I play it every single day, and I enjoy logging in every single time. But that being said, There is a lot I dislike about the game, or disagree with, and I am genuinely afraid to talk about my criticisms with the game because I know that by sharing an unpopular opinion, I have the potential of getting cancelled in the FF community.
I want you guys to reflect on what he just said. Generally afraid to make content talking about the negative aspects of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers in fears of being cancelled by the Final Fantasy fandom. Being cancelled. A moment of silence, please. That is sad. That is real sad when content creators are afraid of being cancelled by a community due to fanatical passive aggressiveness. People, oh, everything that you say bad about our game, we hate you for it. Go back and play WoW. People can't tell me that. You can't tell me go back and play Terra. Because then I'll tell you, no, you go and play Terra. You won't last. Guarantee.
I would love to make videos discussing the things that disappoint me in Shadowbringers, or the things that I want to see changed in the game, but I already know that any video I make like that will get hit with 3 responses. Go back to WoW, Yoshi P said you're supposed to take breaks and to unsub if you're not having fun, or that we should always cater to new players and new players deserve all the attention and special treatment. Let's address these 3 common responses and why I disagree with them. Firstly, the FF14 community's extreme hatred for World of Warcraft and all of its players. I won't lie, I came from WoW. I played WoW for 4 years before picking up FFXIV. Yes, I'm a WoW player. But why does that make me a villain or an outcast in the eyes of the community? Shouldn't we be celebrating the fact that people prefer FF to WoW? The problem is, in order to be a valued member of the FF community, you have to enjoy the game the way they say you should enjoy it. Don't care about the story? Go back to WoW. Don't like the dungeons? Go back to WoW. You think the content comes out too slow? Go back to WoW. I have never and will never understand this hatred for World of Warcraft. Does WoW bring in toxic players? Yes, of course. But so does literally any other game. In fact, some of the nicest players I've ever met came from WoW, and we bond over the fact that the game is bad now and how much better FFXIV is. I love raiding. I love dungeons. I love the skill-based action of MMOs. I play MMOs for the character progression, the challenge of group content, and to optimize my gameplay and become extremely good at the game. These are not exclusive to World of Warcraft, and with Ultimate Raids, I have found a home for the insanely difficult content that I want to play. I don't care about the story. I don't care about the leveling process. I find both of these things extremely boring.
I'm going to talk a little bit about what he just spoke on the leveling and the main scenario quest, which is the story. It is frowned upon within the Final Fantasy XIV community to pay to skip these. People are so emotionally involved with the game where, oh, you paid for a main scenario quest skip? Oh, you paid for a level 70 character? And then you just get disowned. It's it's sad. And as he stated, the leveling process, I said from fucking day one when I first started playing Final Fantasy XIV, is terrible. The leveling process is shit. It is horrible. They need to rework that by itself. For real. The main scenario quest, they're actually changing that. I believe patch 5.3 will be coming out August 11th. And they're going to be streamlining A Realm Reborn stuff, make it much more quicker for new players. I made a video talking about why new players are quitting Final Fantasy XIV. That video is still getting a lot of comments to this very day. Comments that have to be approved, of course, with people basically agreeing. Some criticism, that is fine, as long as it's constructive criticism, not just insults, because people like to insult you when you say something they don't agree with. I don't know why. I guess it makes them feel bigger as a person, as a human being, but you're really not. Overall, like I said earlier, it is frowned upon to want to skip those two things. Not every player wants to go through that. Much like this content creator here, he seems to be the type that wants to go to in-game and do the hardest content in the game. Some would call him an elitist asshole because of that mindset. But that's the thing, people get confused. Toxicity with elitism. Elitism is a mindset. Toxicity is more of actions towards others. You could be a toxic dick to somebody verbally and sometimes physically. Okay? Being toxic includes just basically spewing a lot of, or taking time out of your day to type some bullshit into a online game. Just overall being a dick. Whereas elitism is a state of mind where it's like, I play at this level. I want to do this level of content. I want to do the most challenging content. I know I can do it. I want to do this, get it done, and then do it again till I get all of the pieces that I need, and then look for more harder content to do. Don't confuse the fact that some elitism may also fall in line with people only wanting to play with those that are like-minded. When this dude talks about wanting to do the hardest content in the game, first thing that pops in my mind, and I'm not calling him an elitist asshole, but he has the mentality of an elitist. And elitism doesn't make a person bad initially. They just share the same mindset with each other. And if you don't have the skill to run with these people, you need to go and obtain it and then come back. There was a gap, a large gap between elitists and casual players on Terra back when I played. If you were a casual player trying to get to best in slot, I'm sorry. You were struggling. You might not make it. If you wasn't in a guild, you're not making it. You're not getting the mats you need to make it to Heroic Oath gear. You're just not. I was a solo player trying to push that envelope. I was trying to get to best in slot as a solo player without doing hard mode dungeons. Found out it wasn't going to happen. Towards the end of my lifetime playing Terra, I got help from some people in top guilds. Shout out to Hybrid Fusion, if he still watches my content. Shout out to him. He was in an online guild on the PlayStation 4 North American servers on Terra. Reached out, tried to help me. Even played on my account to try to get me mats so I can get to Heroic Oath. Did all he could. At the end of the day, I gave up because I still found myself struggling to get the mats I needed. But the gap was the elitists would play with people of the same mindset and skill, while the rest of the community had to get the scraps. The gap, the power gap between the two was evident. On top of the community already being trash, okay? I don't want to go into a long spiel. This is going to make the video longer than it should be. Let's continue the video.
The one important aspect here is that I won't hate you for liking the story, and I'm asking you to not hate me for disliking it. We are allowed to enjoy things differently, and if you like the story, I'm really glad you have another layer to the game to enjoy. It's just not for me. Secondly, the infamous "you're supposed to unsub" argument. Quite simply, this is a straw man argument that does not fix anything. If I have a problem with the devs releasing one dungeon per patch, as opposed to the 2 every other patch in Stormblood, unsubscribing from the game doesn't improve that. If I have a problem with there being no deep dungeon in Shadowbringers, unsubscribing won't fix that. If I have a problem with there only being 2 ultimates per expansion and having almost an entire year of the game from a rating perspective mean nothing because getting best in slot and farming gear with no ultimate is meaningless as the next tier's crafted gear will be better than anything I can get right now, unsubscribing, once again, doesn't do anything to alleviate that issue.
We're going to pause the video here. I'm going to come out with the part 2 and we'll go from there. I appreciate you guys taking time to watch.